Welcome to Intel on AI, the podcast that connects leaders with listeners. My name is Heather McGuigan, and I am your host. Today's guest is Bobby Stotterman. Bobby is the COO at Falcons.AI. She is a multi-industry professional with a background in both finance and data science and over 10 years of experience implementing enterprise-class technologies. She uses a technology-driven mindset to capitalize business opportunities by leveraging AI. Bobby, welcome to Intel on AI.
Thanks, Heather. Happy to be here.
So we have a series of questions, so I'm going to launch right in if you're ready.
Yeah, let's do it.
So how would you describe Falcons AI's mission to someone hearing about your company for the first time?
We, I think, have a big, long, wordy mission statement, but to boil it down is we just want to inject good into the world using AI.
Simple as that. That's great. You could probably dispense with the big, long version. That one is really the one that makes everybody feel really good. That's awesome. Falcons AI has achieved impressive adoption with over 500 million model downloads. What do you think drives this level of traction?
Yeah, and actually we're celebrating today. Actually, we reached 700 million downloads just today.
Come on now. Are you doing something to celebrate?
No, we don't have anything planned. Yeah, we're working harder trying to spread the message. I think, the level of adoption really just speaks to the problem that our model is aiming to solve, and that it really is a problem that has a big need out in the world that's not being addressed anywhere else. So very happy that we can put something out there to help so many people.
Now, a lot of companies use great catchphrases. I love that you shortened your mission statement down. We hear things like now more than ever. Companies talk about reimagining possibilities with AI. Can you share a scenario where you've seen this happen for a client in a meaningful way?
Absolutely. So what comes to mind is we did some work a while back with a facilities management company. To elaborate, these are the people who manage the inner workings of, say, an office building or something like that. And that's very kind of boring, unexciting stuff. But when we met with their teams, we showed them how they could use AI for, counting the people to help restock supplies, or from a security aspect, we could do fighting detection, smoking detection, and get real-time alerts to their security staff to, really speed up the mean time to resolution of any issues. And these were things that they were like, I didn't know this was possible, and then with the smoking too, it's a huge fire safety issue, which could potentially save lives. So that was, I think, it seems simple and, like I said, less exciting on the surface, but when you think about the actual impact, it's quite exciting.
And knowing that you're doing everything possible to keep clients and employees in a building safe is important. That lets you sleep at night knowing that you're doing everything possible.
Absolutely.
So your NSFW detection model has become the #1 in the world. Snaps again. Why was this a priority for Falcons AI, and what impact do you see it happening?
This came about really, as a parent. I was attending a birthday party for, one of my son's friends. And so we're standing around with the other parents talking, about how the kids are on all these online platforms, and some of the dangers of these platforms, especially around explicit imagery coming across and them being exposed to it. So, went back, put our heads together at Falcons AI and, just thought about what can we do using our, talents and to, do something to allow people to have some measure of protection against explicit imagery that exists, in the digital world. So we created the model that's gaining so much traction. So it is a explicit image detection model. So currently, as I mentioned, we're at 700 million total downloads. We've been consistently ranked on Hugging Face for the last couple months as the most downloaded AI model. So that's beating out DeepSeek, Google BERT, and OpenAI, a lot of other popular models. So it's a little bit mind-blowing. As I mentioned, I think, it just speaks to there's a huge need. So what we hope the impact will be is to really make digital spaces safer for everyone. In fact, we're working on a upgraded version of this model, which is smaller and can be deployed across, not just as traditional AI models are served up like through an API or with a very large cumbersome model, but we've managed to shrink it down to get it to run on device. So we hope this will help it proliferate within organizations, within devices all over the world, and really make a meaningful impact in reducing the availability of this content and the proliferation of it as well.
My son is 7, so I'm with him. My biggest fear used to be of him like walking off non-barricaded edges of playgrounds. But now it's being on YouTube, and it's such a cool place to be. And there's so much to learn, and there's so much culture for him to learn from. But again, these dangers are there, and you don't want to be hovering over them every second of their lives. So this is amazing technology. Congratulations. You've talked about the importance of simplifying AI for enterprise use. What does simple, fast, and easy to use AI look like in practice?
So I think people get tripped up a lot about, having all the fancy bells and whistles. Like people, especially in enterprise, love dashboards for some reason. But as a user, it's too much, right? You need a simple, actionable, information that you can do quickly and makes your life easier. For instance, one of the projects we worked on before was called Precise AG, and that was using AI to take an image of a chicken to determine if it's healthy or sick. So we were able to, put that where it was served up on, say, a mobile device. So if you're a rural, poultry farmer, you don't have a lot of training and technology, but you know how to use that camera on your phone. So if that's all you've got to do, then it suddenly puts this very powerful technology at your fingertips and makes it useful for you. So that's one of the reasons why, that's something we always think about. It needs to be, simple and easy to use and make people's lives easier.
How see low power AI reshaping the future of edge computing, particularly as Falcons.AI expands its global footprint?
So I really think you see a lot, especially the last couple of years with the really proliferation and the excitement across the world in AI. And you have companies building these, huge models, and, there's a wealth of information. And while that is great, you're beginning to hear stories about building power plants to power the data centers to run AI. So if you think about, there's many communities across the world that either don't have power or don't have reliable power grids. And you're talking about putting a huge strain on already not necessarily stable power grids, or potentially destabilizing stable power grids just to run, AI. So it's like, shooting yourself in the foot to help you walk to the store. So I think the necessity, so AI is not going away. First of all, it's been around for quite some time. It's just gaining in popularity. It's not going away. It is going to be a part of our lives. So it's absolutely imperative that we find solutions to create AI models that are low power and sustainable.
In a world that is focused on power efficiency, how should leaders think about balancing AI performance with this kind of sustainability?
Ultimately, I think you have to think about, you have to be solutions focused. Is like I would think of it something like a medical treatment. If the solution is likely to kill you to, cure the common cold, do you want that solution. So it's not just, oh, hey, I can solve this particular problem, but is solving it going to create more problems? So I think that's a lot around second and third order thinking, which is easy to overlook. So really, to have leaders be cognizant of second and third order impacts, and have people around them that hold them accountable to think about these types of things, I think is really important.
I don't know why that immediate Jurassic Park quote comes into my head. Like, they were so excited that they didn't stop to think if they should. And I can see like Jeff Goldblum like sitting at that lunch table with those pictures in the back. Like, that just pops into my mind so much. Falcons.AI has partnered with Intel on power efficient AI. Can you share a use case or an insight from that collaboration?
Absolutely. I think the biggest insight, so the team did go and they built a completely custom model architecture. So it's not fine-tuned. It is basically our own foundational model. It has a very low footprint, around 4 megs, which is very small for an AI model. But the key insight we took from the collaboration with Intel is the power consumption per inference. We saw about a 10x power efficiency. So that was huge. And the use case that we worked on with Intel was around sensitive data. So more around like blueprints or technical drawings, things like that, kind of, for a lot of organizations are very important intellectual property that is very sensitive. They don't want going outside the company, and being able to analyze those image files and then identify where they're at or where they've gone is going to be key for a lot of organizations.
What's a current edge AI use case you're most excited about exploring with your team?
I think for me, the most exciting thing is the ability to run on CCTV cameras. There are so many things that I think we're not thinking about AI in that regard. And so this, lower power, smaller model kind of opens up that possibility. And if you think about what all can be done, for instance, we were talking with a elder care conglomerate that runs many facilities. And so something like this, not only the explicit imagery detection, which, but also you could do like fall detection or a fighting detection to really protect against, say, elder abuse for a community of people who can't always speak up for themselves. And that would put in an extra layer of protection, for those people and peace of mind for those families. So, and that's one particular use case. Obviously, that can be expanded to many different use cases across different types of organizations. So CCTV, I think, is very exciting.
That's very, very cool. CCTV I kind of only think about it in sort of technological thrillers where they're like tracking people down the street. It has such a wider use than just cool spy toys, but just to reach people on sort of 3D type camera things. So Falcon AI operates at the intersection of open source and enterprise needs. How do you think open source accelerates innovation while maintaining enterprise security?
Open source is it's such a great community, and I think it really provides a lot. The main thing I think is it accelerates innovation because it gives creators an opportunity to put what they've created out into the world and other people to come in and use it. We've received so much feedback and great information from people that have reached out to us for our open source models. So they do a lot of testing. You may have had a problem that you didn't. So it really allows you to create a more robust, more secure solution to take it to the enterprise layer. So once it's kind of gone through the open source, then you have a better product, more secure, more stable product for enterprise solutions. And it's been out there. The people that are using it are developers themselves. So they're, know what to trust and know what not to trust.
What's your advice to decision makers looking to practically integrate AI without overcomplicating operations?
I say, I feel like I've been saying this for a long time, but don't focus on the solution, right, or the problem that at hand. Don't think about it in terms of I've got to implement AI. I need to get AI. How do I put AI in? Think about what are the problems that your customers have, the problems your users, your employees, your community, and then evaluate those on, what are the best solutions? It may be AI. It may not be AI. Is it a complicated solution that requires many different steps? Or is it a complex solution that needs kind of a more reasoning like an AI? So that would be my advice. Start with the problem and not the tool behind it.
It's a great answer. Can you share a story about a time when Falcons.AI helped an enterprise client improve how things get done through AI?
Yeah, we had a really cool one. Again, we like to work on, unpopular problems, but but I find these the most interesting because they're often overlooked. But working with a shipping and logistics company out of Italy, they were having a lot of problems with international shipping. They use an HS code, which is kind of a uniform code to identify various products that come through. So shipping is very busy. We've all seen, ports getting backed up in news stories in the last few years. So if they can't, they'll often have to go through a cumbersome process to, type in a product description and dig through and look for a code. It's time consuming. It requires a lot of training for the people on the ground. Whereas we created a solution similar to some of our others. We take a picture of the product and it automatically identifies the HS code. So again, no training necessary. If you can take a picture, you can use it. And, obviously a big time saver over spending, up to 5 minutes per new products trying to look it up.
So you're telling me that I can run an Italian shipping business just on my phone?
I'm ready.
I've got all the skills. That's it.
That's all it takes.
Looking ahead, you were talking earlier about the version 2 of your NSFW model. What does it represent in terms of industry impact and enterprise readiness?
So again, I mentioned, the small size and the low power consumption allows us to put this directly on a device. So you don't have to run the AI model and analyze the images. You don't have to make an API call out to a third party or send your data outside to a third party. Everything can be run within an organization's internal infrastructure. So this really allows for a level of data privacy and data sovereignty, which is becoming a big deal that previously was not accessible unless you had your own AI model in-house and you managed it and you had the talent to keep up with it. So this kind of opens up an avenue for enterprises that I think previously we haven't seen outside of, very large enterprises with very deep pockets.
Now, if you could leave leaders listening today with one mindset shift about how to think about AI in your organization, what would it be?
I think similar to what I said before is don't get caught up in the hype. Focus on the problem at hand. And I've also heard a lot of talk about, when is the AI bubble going to burst? If you focus on a tool that solves a problem, there is no bubble to burst. All technology, even more things we don't think of as technology, like a knife, is a tool. At one point, it was a big advancement in technology, and it's still around today because it's simple, fast, easy to use, solve lots of problems. So again, I would say, don't get caught up in the hype or the PR or solve problems for your customers, employees, and communities, and you'll be fine.
That's all the questions that we have today. I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. I feel like Falcons.AI and you are so focused on the issue at hand rather than the concept of creating new technology to put out in the world. It's sort of, what do we need here? What's valuable to us? What is going to make things simpler in people's lives? This has been such an awesome conversation. And I want to thank you so much for coming on to the show today.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me, Heather. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.
For everybody watching, this was Intel on AI with Bobby Stottleman. I'm Heather McGuigan, and I am your host. Have a great day. Bye.
Visit intel.com/AI to learn more.